Prague, a city steeped in history where is for sale.
Beer for the sex.
Some women are forced to work as prostitutes for the profits of ruthless traffickers. It's a town where even the cab drivers carry guns. And the city's gangsters use violence to protect their trade. I'm here to discover why Prague is considered one of the world's toughest towns.
We're journalists! We're journalists! What's your problem? What's your problem?
Prague is one of Europe's #1 tourist destinations, attracting millions of visitors every year. But Prague is a city of contrasts. As the historic capital of Bohemia, it was at one time the cultural heart of Central Europe. For hundreds of years, it has also been attracting people with its liberal attitudes and permissiveness. But this bohemian ideal has now been corrupted, and Prague is now known as the Stag party capital of Europe. A city which at the weekend is swamped by Brits on the piss.
Stag parties come to Prague because they like cheap beer. They like attractive women. It's just really, really fun. They can get wild.
In 2007, over 500,000 British tourists visited Prague. Many of them were young men in the city for cheap alcohol and strip clubs. Some of the biggest and most popular of which are based around Wenceslas Square in the center of the town. But this is the image of the city they want you to see, one which is hiding a more sinister side. Many of these strip clubs are in fact legal brothels, and in this city of just over 1 million people, there are roughly 200 of them and thousands of prostitutes. This is an industry worth nearly £150 million a year. I'm in Prague to see what is lurking behind the cheap beer and that's on offer. I want to find out if this is just a hedonistic city, or if there's something more menacing going on behind the scenes. When the sun goes down, the city begins to show its true colors. And when a British football team comes to town, the bars and clubs in this centre are not slow to try and pick up some passing trade from the fans.
Strip clubs.
Yes,
Sex, lots of girls, good girls. Cheap, expensive.
I ordered that. No, it's not.
Not cheap.
Cheap, yes.
Cheap, okay.
We have open half a year. We have a good price.
And is everybody here is going to go, are they? We all going to go? Okay, we're going to have a party.
One look at Wenceslas Square, and it's obvious why this place is such a magnet for the stag parties.
What's here for the mash, mate? Total mash. We fucking love it.
I disagree. I'm here for the
I'm meeting with a prominent local journalist who's under no illusions as to who is cashing in on the city's tourist trade.
Are you uncomfortable with the number of brothels and strip bars that have sprung up to address the need of the British tourist?
The problem is that these people are going to the, for example, as you said, strip bars, which is owned by somebody from the underground or underworld. And there is a problem that the people from the Britain may support people from our underworld.
I've been told that organised crime syndicates are controlling the strip clubs here. And if they're running the clubs, then they must be running the women.
The industry in this city has taken on a life of its own. It has a kind of unique take on the vice trade here. And the thing is, yes, it's for sale. The really interesting thing here is that on a large scale, the product, women are for sale, are being trafficked. And I need to get to the heart of the action to find out what's going on.
I'm at what locals call the Park, one of Prague's newest additions to its red light district, and one that's very popular with the Brits. I've heard is for sale here, so I want to see for myself and see how some of these women are treated. Wandering around, you notice girls hanging out of doorways in their underwear. It's a simple business transaction. You negotiate a fee with the girl and go inside for your half hour of I'm back on the streets of the red light district. And it's not long until the presence of our camera starts to cause a reaction from the touts outside the strip clubs.
Hey, it's illegal.
I'm not recording you. What's your problem?
In this countries, it's illegal.
Hey,
to record people without the agreement.
Maybe you got something to hide.
Things escalate very quickly as I'm surrounded by 4 or 5 of them.
Hey, you can. Hey. Come stop. Fuck you. We're journalists. What's your problem? What's your fucking problem? We'll walk away. Fuck you. We're journalists. We're doing our job. You got something to hide. You got something to hide, buddy. You got something to hide. Let's walk away. Here's the gig. It's an industry which has got nothing to hide. You walk down the street with a camera and they start harassing you. Fuck me. Well, you know, industry, nothing to hide, so no problems. Or else, maybe, there is a problem.
I'm in Prague to discover if there's a human cost to the city's thriving industry, and I've already come face to face with a very ugly side of the business.
Fuck you! We're journalists! What's your problem? What's your fucking problem?
There are people in town that don't like questions being asked, but for the discerning tourists, Prague is still the destination of choice. It's here where the friendlier side of the industry gives its more menacing big brother, the trafficking trade, a shroud under which organized crime in the city can operate. Prague is also known as the capital of the historic region of Bohemia, an area that became associated with liberal thinking and unconventional attitudes from the beginning of the 19th century. It is still now considered by most people as a hedonistic paradise. But rewind half a century and you will see a very different city. From the end of the 30s until the end of the 80s, the Czech Republic lived under the yoke of oppressive invading forces, firstly under the Nazis and later communism. In 1968, the Czech people tried to speak out against their leaders in Moscow in an attempt to create a liberal democracy. But by the summer of that year, the Prague Spring, as it is now known, was crushed by the communist might of the Soviet Union. The lifting of the Iron Curtain and the collapse of communism at the end of the 80s led to Czechoslovakia's Velvet Revolution. A peaceful splitting of the country into 2 states, which we now know as the Czech Republic and Slovakia. At this time, organized crime networks began to infiltrate the Czech Republic to take advantage of its geographical position in Central Europe. They creamed off the most lucrative parts of the infrastructure during the transition from socialism to capitalism. And this included Prague's thriving industry. Throughout Prague's recent history, organised crime has made a home for itself here. But I want to know how far it really goes. Peter Jones is a British journalist who's lived out here for years and has had his own experience of organised crime and the trafficking trade.
From your experience, who's running the city at the moment?
Well, Prague's quite sanitised when you don't see any real problems. Anywhere where there's big money, tourism is a great example. It's the number one industry in the Czech Republic, in Prague in particular. Where you have big money, you'll always find a Russian influence. The simple fact is, if you're buying a sausage or something on Wenceslas Square, or changing some money on Wenceslas Square, in a way you are again contributing to the coffers of the underworld, because many of these innocuous things that you wouldn't think will be controlled by these elements are.
And the fact that Prague and the Czechs have been so open and liberal about the trade, has that allowed trafficking and trafficking of women to flourish?
I know that there are a number of girls that come from the former Soviet Union here, and I know that there are, at least until a couple of years ago, there were many of them that were held in certain institutions against their will.
I'm shocked by what Peter had to say about trafficking and the human cost involved. It's alarming to think that somewhere in this city there are women being held prisoner and being forced to work as slaves. Trafficking is a modern-day version of slavery and involves illegally forcing someone, whether child, teenager or adult, to work as a prostitute against their will. I'm going to a secret location in the center of Prague to meet a woman who was trafficked all around the world. 3 years on from escaping her captors, she is still trying to come to terms with what happened to her. Natasha is originally from the Ukraine, where her husband constantly beat and raped her. She had agreed to speak to me, but did not want to be identified.
Já jsem to nezvládala. Já věděla, že když zůstanu s tím člověkem, tak on mě zničí, nebo já sama sobě něco udělám. Ona mě říkala, že pomůže mi odjet hrozně daleko a že on mě nenajde.
Natasha was taken from her home and told she'd be working abroad, but had no idea where she'd be going or what she would be doing. Around 750,000 people are believed to be trafficked across international borders every year. Many of these victims come from the poorest areas of Russia and Eastern Europe, where they are easily exploited by promises of well-paid jobs and a better life in countries further west. Natasha ended up being trafficked across Europe and eventually to Canada.
Dva muži, který když uviděla, tak já jsem pochopila, že to je prostě mafia, že ti lidi hned poznáš, jak vypadají. A já říkala, kterou práci budu dělat, co budu dělat. Jeden z nich sedl a říkal, že budu pracovat. Já jsem říkala, že to dělat nebudu. Vůbec mě říkala, že to je jedno, co mě říkali, že to budu dělat. Že pokud nechci, aby mě jako zmlátili nebo...
Unfortunately, Natasha's story is not unique. Once the trafficked women reach their destination, they are imprisoned without any chance of escape, and usually end up in situations where they are threatened, drugged, beaten, and often raped.
Já jsem byla v takovém stavu, že já nevím, já jsem neuvědomovala, co vlastně se děje.
Natasha was eventually flown back to Europe and forced to work in one of Prague's brothels until she was freed 3 years ago during a police raid.
As a father with two young girls, I can't believe that kind of men can be that abusive. It comes down to the fact is that on one side there's the Mafia, gangsters and millions of pounds, and the other side there's the human cost. And the women we've met there are part of the surplus to requirements human cost of a very brutal and very lucrative industry.
This is a devastating crime where a human life is worth just a few £1,000s, and women are bought and sold like any other black market commodity. The people behind this industry are making millions from these helpless victims, who are then unwittingly preyed upon by foreign tourists. After hearing Natasha's story, I am now keen to see what the local authorities are doing to try and put an end to this terrible abuse of human rights. The Prague City Police are constantly monitoring the city's strip clubs and brothels, on the lookout for women that shouldn't be there.
Jdeme na kontrolu teda provozoven se zaměřením teda na osoby teda z jiných zemí, teda než je naše republika.
What the police need to establish is whether these girls are here legally. If they're not, then there is a strong possibility that they may have been trafficked. This helps the police gain intelligence on who is working in the city centre clubs and may stop the traffickers from supplying the brothels they target.
To vlastně všechny vlastně jsou z Ukrajiny, dokud nemají v pořádku, a bydliště taky mají vlastně v Praze, takže vlastně.
But this does look like a lot of paperwork with not a great deal of action. It seems the authorities here are more interested in prevention than they are in the cure. These strip clubs and brothels are all over Prague, and even some of the British expats are aware that these places are being run with a lot of foreign money and influence.
You've only got to walk past a strip joint and look at the size of these buildings to see that they're definitely making their money somehow. These places that they're using are huge and they're always open, they're always busy, and I don't think, as far as I'm aware, that one of them is owned by a Czech. I think it's all other money that's coming from somewhere.
Over the last 20 years, organised crime has made a home for itself here in Prague. But every once in a while, the ruthlessness of these organisations is forced onto the front pages, where allegedly legitimate business people have very public disagreements. Local businessman Václav Kočka Jr. was shot dead at a party held for the ex-Prime Minister Jiří Paubek at one of Central Prague's most popular restaurants. Both the shooter and the victim were friends of Paubek and, according to witnesses, became embroiled in an argument over who had the most money in their pocket. The funeral was attended by the ex-Prime Minister as well as a number of alleged organised crime families.
Well, it's a very interesting time to be arriving in Prague in the aftermath of a really high-profile murder at a very high-profile event, and I can certainly detect an air of tension about the city.
It seems that organised crime has a hold on this city, where politicians and alleged gangsters mix in the same circles. I'm back in Wenceslas Square in the centre of the town to meet my driver Joe. He's a local taxi driver and is going to be looking after me for the next couple of days. I'm hoping he can tell me more about organised crime in this city.
So Joe, who runs this town? The mafia or the people? The government or the gangsters?
By day the government, by night just
gangsters.
Gangsters. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to know.
It's good to know.
Good to know.
For myself, I have a gun, you know, just for good, have a good feeling, like I'm safe, you know, because you never know, you never know.
It shocks me that Joe carries a gun. but he must be carrying it for a reason.
Most other drivers and people who are kind of making the money in and around, you know, taxis, the industry, drugs, would they carry guns too?
Yeah, most of them, yeah. Most of them, just for own protection. There was several taxi drivers get killed or injured, you know, because of the stupid fucks. They try to rob you, you know.
And what type of gun do you have?
I have just a
Glock?
Yeah, it's small, easy 635, easy to carry, you know. 635 Browning, made in Czech.
Of course.
Very light, handy, new type.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Holding the gun in my hands forces me into the reality of the situation. Joe carries this because one day he may have to use it in order to save his life.
Because I'm watching it every night. You know, people buying, selling, anything, drugs, maybe guns. But, well, I don't say anything. I'm just seeing it, but, you know.
Hear no evil, see no evil, ask no questions, and carry a gun, and then you feel safe.
Yeah, exactly.
What Joe told me is a very interesting portrait of this city, and not quite the picture of Prague the average stag party hears about. Organised crime appears to be buried in the DNA of this city, where crime syndicates appear to have gained influence in every aspect of life here, from the hot dog stands in Wenceslas Square all the way up to Prague's political elite. It's these mafia factions I'm interested in if I'm going to get to the bottom of who's running this trade here. I'm in Prague, one of Central Europe's most beautiful cities, with a cultural history that spans back over hundreds of years, once being the home to the kings and queens of Bohemia. The city is now under the control of a very different ruler. And this hasn't stopped the influx of British stag groups.
This is your fourth
Fourth time for me.
Fourth stag night in Prague.
Yeah.
Fourth.
Mustn't.
Where's the groom? Where's the groom now?
He's unconscious. He's he didn't last very long. He's been doing all right.
Is it getting better every time, or?
You know, something. It's getting a little bit more seedy.
Is it?
But I think a lot of the places are a bit more kind of orientated towards full-on kind of activity.
Like Amsterdam, you know, it's getting
more like Amsterdam now.
Properly.
The Brits, for the moment, seem to be enjoying themselves, but even they have begun to notice that Prague's industry is becoming sleazier. I'm back in the car with Joe. He's introducing me to the dark side of this city. I've heard the tragic stories of the victims of trafficking and that organised crime is running the trade. In this situation, you would think that the government would be doing everything in its power to halt the growth of this industry.
It's good for economy, you know. I make quite good money. I make good money, but like from boring Japanese tourists, we get nothing, you know.
So this town needs more.
Yeah, good, better better nightlife, bigger, better, more and more.
The tourists don't complain, the politicians don't acknowledge it, the mafia make their millions, the women continue to be trafficked. You know, you carry a gun, the tourists just have a good time, and you know, if you refuse to see a problem, wear your blinkers, then there is no problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you scratch the surface, people get killed, murdered, threatened.
Yeah.
It seems that organised crime in the city is swelling to uncontrollable levels. Wherever there is money being made in Prague, there appears to be organised crime. The Russians are allegedly involved in tourism and the big strip clubs in the centre of town, businesses that no doubt are cleaning their money. But there are also other factions from all over Europe, including Bulgarians, Chechens, Israelis, as well as local Czech and Gypsy mafias. This is a murky world which can only really be understood from the inside. In order to piece this story together, I need to see how these different mafias work in the city. But to do this, I'm going to have to speak to some of them. Joe is taking me to meet a contact that may be able to put me in touch with some of these mafia factions, and hopefully I can then get some answers to who's running this town. He's very nervous about the camera, and by talking to me, he could be putting his own life in danger. This is a very important meeting. If this goes well, then hopefully I will get access to some of the city's big players. I've heard his English isn't very good, so Joe is here to translate for me.
So basically, you know, who's running the town and what are they running?
Bulgarii, these drogi, run the drugs, gypsies run prostitutes mainly.
Joe's contact has a link with a Czech gypsy mafia family who run some of the suburbs of the city. He's promised to set up a meeting for me later on tonight.
Our gypsy friends in the suburbs, they're the real deal.
Tak jsou to agresivní lidi. They are very aggressive people. To ovládají to kladno tam, celý ten.
And we'd be wise to recognize them as dangerous.
Na 100%. Wow, 100%. It's
Thanks, buddy.
Right, perfect. Okay. Good to see you. Nice to meet you. Goodbye.
I've heard from Joe's contact that the gypsy mafia who I'm meeting this evening run a prostitution ring. They're the ones I need to speak to. But after my reception outside the city centre's nightclubs, I'm slightly nervous about what might happen.
Fuck you! We're journalists! We're journalists! What's your problem?
These people do not like cameras or people asking the wrong kind of questions, and they will no doubt be a bit jumpy about our presence. These kinds of meetings can turn bad very quickly. I'm back in the car with Joe on our way to the suburbs. We're apparently meeting somewhere on the Czech Republic's Road of Shame. It's one of the main arteries linking Prague to Western Europe and has become notorious for smugglers, tourists and prostitution ever since the end of communism.
What potential do you think it is for things to go wrong?
I don't know. Well, I'm your backup, you know, I'm armed, but I don't know. We have to be careful. Look where we are, you know, it's middle of nowhere, you know, so.
Oh?
The further we drive into the outskirts of the city, the more I feel like we're heading into an unpredictable and dangerous situation.
I mean, this is going to be a difficult meeting people in effectively a kind of extended lay-by, and you don't know what you're walking into. And I know we're coming in to meet two strangers, no idea what they've done. We know that they're underworld figures. You know, they know I'm interested in the underworld. They know I want to ask about what's going on, what they're about, what they do, just to get a window. I don't even know yet if they're prepared to go on camera, or if they'll freak. But we'll just see what happens. Is this it? No?
Yeah, I think so.
My good, this is it?
Looks like it, yeah, I think so.
As we arrive, it becomes clear why we've been brought here. It's the perfect place for a clandestine meeting. All we can do now is sit and wait.
When you're in a state of kind of paranoia, everybody's a fucking gangster. Fuck's sake.
But it's not long until we get a feeling that we're being watched.
At them, what do you think? Let's get on the phone. Let's find out. Any word? I mean, we saw a guy come in and pull out. Was that them? There has been a few fellas around to check us out. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye. Happy on the way.
I'm meeting Puncha and Adam, two lieutenants from the Ola crime family. They are two of the 6 brothers that control a large area on the outskirts of the city. I want them to tell me how the different mafias run this city and how they fit into the jigsaw.
How you doing, guy?
They appear
Adam,
to
how
have
you
brought
doing?
with them a
How you
large
doing?
entourage, and
How you
this is
doing?
not what I was expecting. Their reaction to the camera is far worse than I expected.
I'm back.
The situation is about to turn nasty, and I have to calm them down very quickly. But Puncha and Adam are still obviously very jumpy. They slowly begin to cool down and allow me to ask some questions. The atmosphere is calmer, but we are all on edge, and I'm aware that the wrong question could cause another explosion from Adam.
Now you're the boss of this zone here. You're the boss.
Celkově rodina.
Family together. And have other people tried to take your business away from you? Russians. And are you strong enough to keep them out? Because they've got lots of rubles.
Oh, they're holding it since 90s.
Wait, and what language do they understand, the Russians? Violence or money?
Sila, yeah, power,
Just power.
Yeah,
and so when you go into Prague, are people trying to have a fight with you because they want to take you down, challenge you, your reputation?
Yeah, they're afraid of that. Right.
So it's no problem. And here, because guns are legal and everybody's got a gun here, you know, is that bad for business?
Yeah, it's illegal.
Now in Prague, you know, when they talk about people running the girls in Prague and running the business and drugs, they use the word mafia. And people talk about mafia. Is it Russian? Is it Nigerian? Is it Czech? You know, is it Gypsy? You know, who runs the mafia?
They are high up the mafia hierarchy here and are not people to be crossed. I've been told they run a prostitution ring, but I want to know if they're actually buying and selling women themselves.
So if I were to buy a girl from you, from my house, my brothel in London, how much would it cost me? £3,000. That's a bargain. And do I get a discount if I take 10? No problem.
Oh, he must finish because he's going to...
Okay, yes. You must finish because you buy drugs. Okay.
The brothers' laughter as they leave doesn't hide the fact that these are two of the city's most ruthless and violent gangsters.
Fucking hell.
That felt very edgy, and I'm glad to be back in the car and getting out of the area as quickly as possible.
Fuck me. They're the real fucking, that's the fucking real deal. That's the real deal. The thing about it is, if that goes wrong, you know, he would pummel us to dust. And not give a second thought.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? I now understand a little bit more how Prague works. It works on a kind of peaceful détente, a gangsters kind of UN convention where everybody's got their own territory, everybody knows where they get the girls, everybody knows where to get the drugs, everyone knows whose business area, you know, and whose business district belongs to who. And as long as you respect that, then there's no trouble and everybody makes money. So the secret to this tourism business and the secret to the gangster business and where they cross over with the women is stability.
Stability, exactly.
Don't ask the questions, don't challenge, don't provoke, everybody wins.
Yeah.
I've been given a glimpse of Prague's dark underbelly, and it's definitely not the city you see in the holiday brochures. It's a place where mafia bosses rule and the unfortunate are preyed upon by human traffickers and international tourists. Last night I met part of Prague's mafia underworld face to face. I was told I could buy a girl for just £3,000 and get a discount if I buy more than 10. The alarming thing was how they compared selling women in bulk to that of any other product. Women to these people are just a commodity. But those guys are small time in comparison to what goes on in this city centre. This is where the serious traffickers operate, bringing girls in from all across Europe and filling the brothels around Wenceslas Square in the centre of town, where British tourists may decide to spend their money. But some of these Brits have noticed a big change in this city over the years.
First time I came over was about 15 years ago, and it was probably
you were
about
breaking ground.
About 3 years after the Velvet Revolution.
You were breaking new ground, yeah.
And it was a fantastic place, and it's kind of sad really to see the
it's just
the main streets completely taken over by, you know, strip clubs.
Now it's lost its innocence in a big way, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, and it's, you know, saying you can't walk anywhere without somebody pestering you to go to a sex show. And I think it's a shame, really, the way it's gone.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of poor man's Amsterdam.
Prague, it seems, is beginning to lose respect from some of the British tourists. And the city's loss of innocence has opened the door to the trade entrepreneurs. These are people that are here to make money at any cost.
Well, a meeting's been arranged between a Prague city centre downtown trafficker called Tibor. Now, these guys don't come with CVs or references, but as best as we can maintain, this guy is a serious trafficker, makes lots of money downtown. He supplies women from abroad to the brothels.
I meet Tibor and his bodyguard on a quiet street corner not far from the centre of town, and we head to a local bar where we can talk in private.
Where do you get your girls from?
Z celé Evropy. Češky, Slovenky, Polky, Maďarky, Španělky. Lidi mi nabízejí. Mám s nima jednou schůzku, pozvu fotky, dám to a vybírám si. Oni mi to dají, dají prachy, to dají mi. Máme také už kontakty s lidmi. Teď, když někdo zavolá, že mám jít třeba do Španělska proti holky, pošlu lidi, jedu. A já pomoci. Tady dělám sám.
If the women are difficult, what do you do? How do you manage the women?
Pokud nepovím, vyhodím, nebo musím dělat to, co chci já. Musím dělat to, co chci já. Musím dělat to, co chci já. Nezajímá nikdo. Řeknu, buď tady, musí být. Nezajímá, nestará.
Woman does as she's told. You're the boss. And if she disrespects you, what do you do?
Ničím, potrestám. Jednou potrestám, přivážím, bičím. A tam donesím. Hele, vidí to? Tak držel jsem. Já nemusím nic, jo, a do ramena. Zaspaný. Bavím, poradím nějaké slušky. A pokud se týče, hele, pokud se týče ovšem nějaký biznis, a vím, že to vychází, tak jsem prostě takový.
Are they allowed to travel outside the house? Outside Prague?
Pasport bereme mi. Nemůžu.
Tibor's honesty and flagrant disregard for the camera shocks me. He must be a serious player to not care about being identified.
And police, chief, police, they respect you?
Yes, you pay this police.
Well, there's no doubting that guy is the real deal. Scary, dangerous criminal. The guy controls his women with brutal force, with guns, holding back the papers, and of course, physical violence. You know, tell you one thing, he's a major figure in the trade here, in the trafficking, and everything he told me smacks of someone who was right at the heart of it. He's a dangerous man.
I thought Puncha and Adam in the suburbs were ruthless and placed little value on human life. But I get the impression that Tibor is far more dangerous. He'll shoot his girls in the arm or leg as a warning if he needs to. I suppose it comes down to a simple fact. To him, a live girl is worth more than a dead one. A recent poll named the Czech Republic as a country with one of the highest levels of political corruption in the world. It ranked just ahead of Nigeria and Mexico. I have found that Prague is a city run by an international mafia underworld that not only controls the business, but has a vice-like grip on the country as well, where even the taxi drivers need to arm themselves to survive. The industry they run is making too many people too rich for anyone to want it to stop, and has the police in its back pocket. The Czech people's reluctance to accept what's going on is allowing the crime of trafficking to continue virtually unchecked. And until people stop spending money in the clubs, which fill the pockets of the criminal organizations that run this city, Prague will remain one of the world's toughest towns.